Steve Jobs said it, and it's one of the most amazing marketing quotes of all time. It's not the public's job to tell us what products they want. It's our jobs to know. Who did the market research on the iPhone and iPad? Nobody. They didn't do any market research. It's their job.
I want to have built it to something that I know that I want.
That's our job.
Because it helps me in so many different aspects. And I love Apple products. They always work.
It's addictively easy. So I know a lot of people have Androids now, but it's taken Android a lot longer to get that product and that system out. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's so big and so unleashed that it's too hard. As humans, we need structure.
I just want to go and it work. A lot of times, like in my space, and I don't know, maybe even yours, like no one wants to talk about insurance. They don't get it. They don't get it.
It's boring.
Yeah. Well, nobody understands marketing either. And plus, it's so much more than just making a post on Facebook, right? There's a lot more inundated. There's a lot more that goes on with it. So, like, I was like, well, what can I do to, like, at least just open the door to building a relationship and having conversations?
Sure.
You know? So I was like, we're going to have a podcast studio. And I was like, maybe this will help just bring people in from the community, and then I'll have a place to meet more people. They'll see my office and everything else.
100%.
So that was great. And I was like, well, I'm going to start my own podcast. Had a couple buddies that joined me in it initially. Lives have adjusted just a little bit. So hopefully one of them will come back, but I'm still friends with both of them.
That's what I thought back. It's been a while, but I thought I noticed someone else when I was digging back a little bit. I just don't know who it was. I don't remember.
Abel Rodriguez?
Probably it was Abel.
The ARC Outdoorsman. And then Chance Jones. So Chance is, they're both good buddies of mine. Abel's actually turned out to be one of my best friends. No, so we're
I think
close.
that's who I saw, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit, but I was flipping back and saw that. Yeah. So
they're both really, really good dudes, good guys and everything. But so then I was like, well, let's do Brews and Business. And we all some people brought coffee, beer, if you could brew it, tea. We've had tea.
Yeah.
Stuff like that,
Celsius.
all sorts of different stuff. Yeah.
I do a ton of orange Celsius. It's funny, over the last couple of years, I like to joke here and there and I toy with the system and see what I can get out of it. Insurance is boring. And so I do a lot of weird stuff promotionally, like we have the Hulkbuster, but I also have one of the only replica Sylvester Stallone Rocky statues in my office. And so I bring focal points onto things that aren't necessarily what we're even doing, just to create the interest, And so Celsius, a couple years ago, I buy this stuff by like the pallet.
Yeah.
I'm told, and we're waiting on it now, I'm told that Jake Paul has sent me a pallet. We're going to see if that happens. But what I started doing is I'd be out at places, not Quick Trip, of course, because it wouldn't work at Quick Trip because they always have orange Celsius, which is the best flavor to me. The rest of them suck. And so I started this joke about how I had sunsetted all the other flavors of Celsius except for orange, and that you wouldn't be able to get them anymore. And if I went into a gas station like a Casey's or a Come and Go, which is whatever now, Maverick, and they didn't have orange, we would begin filming it and talking about it and tagging their corporate offices in it. And it got so rambunctious that Celsius would also reply, we can't believe that you don't have an adequate amount of Celsius in your store. And then the corporate office for Come and Go or Casey's, you would say, hey, we're very sorry. We know it's on the order. We're not getting it. And it would turn into these like hyper-focused, thousands of people jacking around. I did one recently, probably like 2 or 3 months ago, out at this Casey's in Jinx by Highway 75. And we were in this huge hurry, but my media lady was with me, and I looked at her and I was like, they don't have any orange Celsius in this thing. And she goes, you haven't done this in like 6 months. And I was like, it's time. We did another one. Casey's is sending, like, I got a handwritten letter from Casey's about an apology that store wasn't adequately, inventory on orange Celsius. So it's just funny jokes because, well, you're a marketing guy, so you know all this bull crap. No one really cares about the product. Very few. There's a very few exceptions to that rule. Of course, there's some like analytical shoppers out there, which marketing people, you guys would know buyer styles. Analytical shoppers they're the ones, looking at the shapes and sizes and the price and this and that, reading the small writing. It's a small percentage of the customer. The customer is very influential in the way that they can be influenced very easily. And so, what's his name? Of course, I'm Apple guy. What was his name?
The founder
Yeah,
or
found
the
died.
Tom?
Yeah, that died.
Why
Founder
am
of
I,
Apple.
why am I going blank?
I am too.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. You know, Steve Jobs said it, and it's one of the most amazing marketing quotes of all time, because his personality was very. We in my world or in the mortgage world, we'd call him, he was an underwriter. You know, in sales,
Very dry.
Very dry. He's there to not keep the business
It's kind
going.
of interesting for a visionary.
And
role,
it is,
right?
but he was very underwriter. But he said something profound. It's not the public's job to tell us what products they want. It's our jobs to know. That's how they created the iPad. A lot of people said, who did the market research on the iPhone and iPad? Nobody. They didn't do any market research, because it's their job to have promoted it so well and program us to want their product without any of that.
I want to have
prep.
built it to something that I know that I want when I
Right.
see it, because I need it.
That's our
Because
job.
it helps me in so many different aspects.
Yeah.
Like
So-
I remember when they had the iPod Touch. Remember that?
Yeah.
Wasn't they called? Isn't that what they called it? The
Yeah.
iPod Touch.
Well, iPod, I'll get music on it. Basically, just a cool MP3 player.
And that was the alternative to the iPhone, because the iPhone was so damn expensive. No one could really.
Yeah.
If you had it, it was really a luxury thing. Now
Yeah.
everyone. Now if you don't have an iPhone, who are you?
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I remember having the iPod Touch, and I was like, this is some premium stuff, and I wanted. And I love Apple products. I love a lot of times they always work, like between devices seamlessly. So I'm
One,
like,
if they don't, you just get another one. I mean,
I take it in and they give me a new one.
It's addictively easy. So I know a lot of people have Androids now, but it's taken Android a lot longer to get that product and that system out. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's so big and so unleashed that it's too hard. As humans, we need structure. We've been getting told what to do since we were 3 years old. So if you're in sales, a shortcut is to know that every single person you're talked to has likely been instructed to do what they were being told to do since 3. So in my world, in our sales world, is we just tell you what to do. Ironically, you do listen. It's a programming we have. And so what Android, the biggest mistake they made in giving everyone so much freedom and no barriers and you can do whatever you want, is it's like going to the Cheesecake Factory. Their menu's 100 pages. That sucks. And the reason why that Cheesecake Factory has actually struggled, that company has struggled over the last decade, is they've not adjusted to that. There's so much competition now that people are actually being interfered with their own personality. 2 or 3 decades ago, there wasn't so much competition in the sit-down restaurant business. You think there's a lot of restaurants, but in the grand scheme of things, there weren't. Multiple brands are owned by the same people. And so the last 10 to 15 years, you'll notice Cheesecake Factory and their companies are producing more of a loss now, and they're attributing it to the fact that it's hard to do business there. So in your business or a gas station, or everyone has different kind of difficulties to do business with them, be it lack of service or speed, or if you're doing direct TV, it's like they're not going to install for 8 or 9 days. Well, in the restaurant business, one of the ways to do business with them is the ability to order and know what you're going to order, how much time that takes. Well, what they started to notice at the Cheesecake Factory is you'd come to your table and it's almost twice as long to order there than, say, Texas Roadhouse.
Can I add something to it?
Yeah.
So you've been to Charleston's.
Yes, and I love
Their
Charleston's.
menu has not changed
Simple.
in 15 years.
Hal
10
Smith
years.
owns Charleston's, Red
Red
Rock,
Rock,
Smitty's. So
Mahogany's. Well, the menus are simple.
it's very
And if they
yeah.
do change the menu, you still have tacos, fish tacos, but instead of
Or wings.
salmon, maybe it's tilapia, or whatever the taco form. It's a different kind of fish, but it's still the same thing. And if I know a lot of their customers will come to Charleston's and they know what's on the menu. They like what's on the menu. They order the same thing that's on the menu because they don't want to go home and cook or whatever
Right.
it is. And they know when they come to Charleston's, they get that same thing. And when something changes, they're pissed. They're like, no. And also, logistically speaking, it makes it easier to train staff
Yep.
on the menu, and it makes it easier to train the cooks, right? So your consistency across the board makes it so much easier than having to. I went to a coffee shop. Oh, I'm carrying this on. Evergreen, small coffee shop out in Owasso. Not one of my favorites for a handful of reasons, but one of them was it was overwhelming the amount of options that they had.
Okay.
The amount of syrups. My
Just
God,
a million of
I
them.
have never seen so many syrups at a coffee shop, and I have traveled the country going to coffee
Right.
shops. I was like, how do you make? And then the menu, the amount of different coffee drinks there was to match with those was insane. And then the food options were all over the place. So I was like, I saw comparing that to Charleston's, and then now you bring up Cheesecake Factory, and I'm like, this is what I think a lot of people like why they struggle sometimes in business when they provide too many options to the customer. And you kind of comparing that with Apple versus Android, and you're comparing, Cheesecake Factory to Charleston's. Well, there's some similarities there in their successes and also the type of customer and their customer experiences they have. They lean towards, I just want to go and it work.
Yeah. It's an evolution. Cheesecake Factory would not be a bad place to go. I would not have a negative review of them.
I love
The
Cheesecake
food's
Factory.
good. The bread, I need the brown bread with the honey. I need that.
Yep.
But every time I go there, I just order what I got last time because I'm overwhelmed with the menu. Hal's a kind of a 50-50 with me. He's like a substitute grandpa / mentor. And he'll tell you this. He caters, and his restaurants are designed to cater to what we're talking about. Of course, there's a percentage of people that want 10,000 things to choose from when they're still going to order the very same 2 to 3 things. They just want to see a million things. That's like 2 to 3% of your whole business. Hal would tell you, cater to simple, predictable, easy to train, like you pointed out. There's multiple bonuses that come from that process, because now if you're not having to learn so many items, now it's a better experience. Your servers can memorize what you're getting. Are you younger than me? I don't know. I'm 45.
I'm 32.
Dude, golly. You're so freaking young. So you may not remember this. Back in the old days at Olive Garden, they had to memorize your order.
Like they couldn't write it down?
Couldn't write it down. And so,
Like Quick Trip the machines don't tell you how much cash to give back. They want you to
you
think
would
on your
go
feet.
to Olive Garden, and there may be 7 of you, and they don't write it down. They do now. Because, one, the people are different. But Hal would say, it should be easy to do that. He wants a system to where when you come in, the server doesn't have to write anything down because there's only
10 options.
10, 12 options. And they will every once in a while change out 1 or 2 items here or there, mostly at Red Rock. But Charleston's doesn't do it as much. Red Rock will change out something once or twice a year, seasonal, to try it and see if it sticks. A lot of people don't realize at Red Rock, they have the best wings in town.
A Red Rock.
And they're not
I've
on the menu.
never heard of the wings.
They're not on the menu.
You got to ask for it?
You do.
My wife loves Red Rock.
Tell her to ask for the wings. They'll blow her mind. Well, another concept they figured out a long time ago, but now someone copied them. You've probably heard of this restaurant, Bull in the Alley. Mm-hmm. Bull in the Alley doesn't produce their name just because they think the mystery's cool, but they do just as much to promote their name as anyone else. They just create a mystery that it's not there. That's it. So if you've ever been to their website,
Nope.
it's freaking nothing. It's a black page, and a logo pops up, and then their phone number's on the top.
That's it.
That's it. Unless it's been modified in the last couple months. That's been because that's their gig. That's the thing. Bull in the Alley is, it gives you this feeling of, it's like exclusive, but it's not. It gives you this feeling that it's like kind of old school 1920s, dark in an alley.
Speakeasy.
Yeah, like you might meet a mafia member here kind of thing, but it's not.
But you're not. It's okay.
Normal people are there.
Not mafia people.
Moms and dads are there on date night. It's the same place, but that's why marketing is so important. And you're in this business, so I'm preaching to the choir. Marketing is so important because most people don't care about your product. They just have to have it. Yeah. Insurance is one of those things. Nobody cares about this stuff. Now, again, a certain percentage of people do have questions once the barrier of entry is broken. They do honestly care. People care about life insurance. They care about their home and these things, but they get marketed to so much that they just want to get it done. Or they just want the best deal. You've heard this before. Everyone wants the best deal.
Well, I don't think people really start to care until they've been screwed over.
Yep.
Or their finances is a big one. If they're trying to cut some budgets or whatever it is, then they really want to understand and try to validate why they're spending $32 on Amazon
Yeah.
a month.
Well, you
or
get
whatever,
this. They'll call you up and say, Braedon, I want the best deal. What the crap is the best deal? Dude, to me, the best deal is something that works the way that it's supposed to work for a fair price. But so many people think they need to get on the phone with you and tell you they want the best deal, which is what they really mean as the cheapest deal. But they also want the cheapest, best deal to be better than everyone else's deal. That's marketing at its best over the years to people. Mortgage business is fun too. I was spent years in the mortgage business, and you got two neighbors, and they're sitting out on their driveway kicking around. And this guy's like, dude, I got a 4%. And the other guy's like, I got an 8%. I'm calling my person tomorrow, and I'm going to raise hell. Well, the thing they didn't talk about is his bankruptcy and this and that and the other thing. They just think they're on the same street, they like the same junk, and why don't they have the same rate? Well, that's because of the bankruptcy, bro. You know, that's why. That's why. And marketing is the same way. I mean, it's your ability or inability to draw a picture for people that they can resonate with and identify with. And in my business, I'm never, ever going to be drawing a picture of home and car insurance for you. I'm always going to draw a picture of magnetic interest, and I'm going to draw a picture of relational interest. So if I was on the phone with you at any given time trying to sell something to you, we would never talk about the product. We would talk about that gas station that you drive by that I also get gas at, and that movie theater that you go to that, of course, I've been to. And yeah, my kids went to school there, in that church. Me and you would relate on so many things. And if I couldn't find any, I would keep digging and keep digging, because I'm not going to lie to you, because I can't lie to you and really relate. I need to relate to you. So I'm going to dig so much, so quick, that I will find intersections. And the more intersections I find with you, the less it becomes about the product at all. The faster and faster I do that, the more success I'm going to have. In the year 2025, nobody answers the phone anyway. So we deploy a totally different. We're still going to call you. You're not going to answer. You're going to get the absolute very best voicemail you've ever heard, but you're only going to listen to 12 seconds of it. You're absolutely then going to get a text message after that that's going to match about 12 to 13 seconds of that voicemail you just heard, and 2 days later, you're going to get a handwritten postcard that matches all of those. And ultimately, what you're going to figure out is we understand the process, and most of our competitors don't. People buy on the 7th or 8th day. You're going to get a few stragglers on day one and a couple in the middle, but for the multitude of people, buyers buy on the 7th or 8th day as it pertains to insurance, and a lot to mortgage. And so what our system is that we're touching you in some form for 7 days, knowing that the first thing that we've got to do is, a lot of people think you're supposed to call first. They think that's rule number one. That's not rule number one. Call first doesn't matter. Eliminate your competition is number one. And the way we do that is we tell you to. If I was on the phone with you, I'm going to tell you, hey, Braedon, there's going to be a bunch of salespeople on the phone with you at any time trying to sell you this, that, and the other. They may not even have 918 phone numbers. We're right down the street from you. We're local. If I can't get you the best deal that you're looking for, the things that you need, I'll find you someone that can. Why don't you go back to work, do what you got to do? You didn't even want to talk to me in the first place, and I'll handle it all for you. People have been doing what they were told since they were 3 years old, and they do it, and they wait for us to call. And then we call, and most of the time we can do it. But if we can't do it, we do exactly what we said. I've got partners out there that we promote and like to do business with when we can't help somebody, and we send the info over. Here, help this person out like they're ours. And because of that, we'll do volumes and multiplications of what most people do in our business in the way of applications for insurance. So when I look at marketing, which is why I love marketing people like you, is I think that some people miss the boat in the marketing world, because I'm not a marketing expert, but I am a promoter. So instead of selling insurance, I promote. And what I've done over the course of my career is figure out, how can I promote other people that have some kind of interest in what I do, so it's kind of a teamwork thing.
I understand that. I don't like to promote a whole lot of marketing stuff in the mix of everything that I do. So I like to share the events and things that I'm involved in and the community focus, because that's a big aspect of what I do and what I like to do.
Give people an opportunity to get involved.
And coffee. Everyone loves coffee. Almost everyone loves
You're
coffee.
a coffee freak. I mean, I see coffee around here everywhere. What's that tied to? Just Love
well,
of coffee?
I was 4 years old. My Nana goes, "You want a sip of Nan's coffee, hon?" And my mother goes, "Don't do that. It's gonna." She's like, "It's not gonna hurt him." And nowadays I'm making espressos and everything else. But I've worked at Starbucks and a couple other
Okay.
small coffee shops. I ran a coffee shop on Main Street in Broken Arrow when I was 14.
Oh, very
The
cool.
lady gave me the keys to it. My mom helped me open it and close it sometimes, and I worked for tips.
Awesome.
Because I had fun just meeting people and making coffee. So coffee's a passion of mine.
So you know the coffee game.
Yep.
I don't know the coffee game, but I like coffee. I usually drink whatever is handed to me.
So this is ground for drip. It's currently from Costa Rica. This will be one of the last batches that we'll have for Brews and Business for a little while. Now we've got Nicaragua and Ethiopian coming in. So
Very
I
cool.
just got labels for those. So I was going to...
We'll use it immediately.
And these are roasted by a local coffee roaster. It's a widowed dad up in Wausau, Oklahoma.
Oh,
So-
really? I grew up in Owasso, by the way.
Really?
Graduated in 98 before you were born, probably.
93.
So you graduated.
I was born in 93.
You were born. That's silly. That's silly. You were
We're gonna
5.
stop there
You were
then.
5 when I graduated. Yeah, it's
Next
it's
topic.
unbelievable. I mean, think about when you hear that kind of crap. It's like you were born in 93. It doesn't even register right away. I just have to think and do the math. Oh, it's simple math. 5 years. You were 5 years old when I graduated high school. So, yeah, I grew up in Owasso. When I was born in Owasso, grass. Just grass everywhere. There was an Otasco's. You ever heard of those stores?
Nope.
There was an Otasco's in Owasso. There was a Wells grocery store. No Reese's. It was called Wells. Do you live in Owasso, or you spent some time
I grew
out
up in
there?
Broken Arrow. Almost.
Okay.
I mean, majority of my young life. So
Where'd you graduate? What time? Where year did you graduate in Broken Arrow?
12.
Weird.
Supposed to graduate in 11. I got 1 credit short from my transfer
Yeah.
from Bishop Kelly.
Okay.
So, whatever.
I'm working on Broken Arrow right now. They're one of the only big schools in the metro that don't work with us on Call Bryan Smith Player of the Game. And so we're working on them right now to try to get that in that school. We do, it started 5 or 6 years ago. We do a football for a player, and they get a gift card and a hoodie or whatever, and we do a picture and post it. It started out as kind of a promotional idea.
Wait, what are you doing?
Call Bryan Smith Player of the Game.
Okay. And you did this before?
We've done it for 5 years now.
But not a Broken Arrow.
Not a Broken Arrow. We're working with them to try to get it in. It's turned into more of a hope dealing session. Dude, we started, Thad, my kind of community relations guy, will go in. What it turned into is it's a promotional idea for me, and we're going to promote. We get pictures, and everyone shares it. Well, what started happening is kids were coming up to us saying, hey, my grandma has cancer. I found out yesterday. Would you guys pray for something like that? Whoa. Then we started getting asked to speak, and we started getting asked to deliver hope messages to these kids. I'm allowed on campuses now that almost no one else is because of Call Bryan Smith Player of the Game. I got asked the other day, which I'm still kind of weird, to be the commencement speaker for Tulsa Public Schools. I was like, do you guys know what you're doing here? So it's an honor, though, because we get to spend some time with kids. It's in small amounts, but dude, some of these schools, their dads are gang members. Mom's not there, dad's not there. And we get just a few minutes to go and recognize them for their ability on a field. We added wrestling this year, and girls wrestling went unbelievable. So in the sports year from 2024, when football was going on, till the end of wrestling, which would have been a week and 2 ago, we're over like 1.5 million views and shares for Call Bryan Smith, Player of the Game, wrestler, and basketball. We added ORU baseball and basketball this year. Of course, we have union football, baseball, and we added girls wrestling. And I'll tell you right now, it's easy. Girls wrestling is the most rambunctious crew of parents on the planet.
What?
They love it. They love it. Jinx especially. These Jinx girls, well, and you got to attribute some of the credit to Coach Biff. Biff was at Broken Arrow. In fact, he was a coach probably out there when you were there, and his dad was probably one of the coaches. Coach Jones, they were like the gods of wrestling in Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow's always had a great wrestling team. Mm-hmm. Dude, since the days of, there was a guy there that came from Owasso when he wrestled 1 year at Broken Arrow. His name was Skylar Holman. He died of a rare cancer. Just an unbelievable wrestler, went to OSU out of Broken Arrow. but they're the gods of wrestling out there. Well, Coach Jones, the son, moved to Jinx because his son had an opportunity to be the quarterback. And girls wrestling is just on fire over there. They're rambunctious. They love it. The girls will be texting Thad. You didn't post our pictures yet from last week for player of the game. And they share it, and thousands of people are just, it's a snowball. So it's been cool. It's been cool. But just another marketing thing.
So is that a marketing thing or is that a good business decision? You know, is that something to where it would have started at the top and said, hey, marketing, we decided to get involved and to do this. Let's get creative on executing that.
You know, I've got to be authentic and transparent about it. When it started out, dude, it was purely a marketing thing. It was a spin to bring a little more attention to our name. And of course, it came with a little good deed, right? You know, we're recognizing the kids. But I'll tell you, and as Thad and I got deeper into this and we started having more kids come and having a conversation about how their life might look a little bit different, it changed. Man, I get emotional these days. You get old, it's going to happen to you too.
I still do.
Enough real stuff, you know, starts to happen, and you're like, this isn't a marketing thing. This isn't a promotional deal. This is an opportunity to speak into people's lives with things they may never hear. They may never hear this at home. And so it changed. It changed on us from this like marketing opportunity to 100% like, and Thad named it, it's more of a hope dealing thing. When we come on campus, onto the field or the wrestling mat or the field, the baseball field or the basketball court, is these kids are smiling. They're ready to go. They love the recognition. And we don't pay the school nothing. They don't give us anything either. And I don't get any crap about checking in or we go through security. We sign our names. We do what we're supposed to do, but we don't have to. There's no big hoopla about trading money or power, because so many things that go on in these schools is 100% about what you're going to give them. You know, you want to put your banners out there. You got to pay for it. And it's about, you know, everybody trying to trade a little money for some service. I never wanted to do that with the schools. And every once in a while, we'll get someone on their quarterback clubs or whatever ask us, hey, do you want to, you know, pay for this? And it's like, hey, we'll donate. You know, you don't have to pay us. We're not going to pay you. We'll donate our stuff, our banners. We'll buy team meals. We go and help and pay for banquets. Recently, we did a really cool one. Victory Wrestling had a request for some different type of awards, not like just a trophy or a plaque. And we had these shields made out of wood with like swords. That's their logo, and each one for their kids. So we want to make it a kind of an experience. Everything we do, which a marketing guy like you would understand completely, is my job is to make you remember what I did with you, for you, or around you. And that's got to come, if I do that with
Authenticity.
a good authenticity, transparency, and
a good heart,
true humility, you're going to remember it. If I sell you on something and it's cool and it's fun and it's electric, you're going to forget that. That's going to go away. I've got to help you feel what we're doing with me, and then we can create something long-term.
It matters.
Yeah. And you got to do that in our boring business. I mean, insurance, we already talked about this, dude. Insurance is pretty freaking boring. And so, but we'll still see a ton of people in our office. You talk to most insurance agents, their door might be locked, they're working from home, or we meet at coffee shops. Dude, we don't do none of that bull crap. We'll see 50 to 125 people a week coming through because we create something that has nothing to do with insurance, whether they're taking pictures with Rocky or the Hulkbuster, or they're just coming in to hang out. We've got a podcast room. I'm building a cigar bar on top of the building right now.
Wait, where? In Jinx?
No, right over here at 67th and Sheridan.
Okay, have you been to that Bourbon and Ash?
Yep.
Okay.
That guy used to come into our cigar bar before we sold it.
Okay.
I was the owner of Ash.
That was also down the street.
The original Ash.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Small world. All right.
It's a small world. Small world. So I like the owner there at Bourbon and Ash, but I think that we would all be crazy to act like that's an original name.
I thought it was so weird how it was a mile apart from the Ash cigar bar, and then you have Bourbon and Ash.
Well,
so it's almost confusing, and they're on Sheridan.
The name of Ash has now been changed. The new owner changed the name.
So there's a new owner. Okay, so I knew there's a coffee shop, there's Ash, and then something else that was next to it as well.
Fogan Bates.
I thought Fogan Bates owned all three of those.
Not before.
Huh.
So Fogan Bates owner owned that strip center,
Yeah.
owned the cigar retailer, which is him,
Yep.
and owned the coffee sandwich
It
shop
was
at
like
the
Cafe Cubana at one point.
Still is.
Still
Yeah.
is?
That's James.
And then they also had that Cherry Street location where the cigars and
That's
Cafe
his.
Cubana was there.
That's his wholesale like warehouse style shop.
Yeah.
So James is cool. He provides cigars to almost everyone in town.
So do you know the tobacco pouch? You know Steve?
I do. I've met him once or twice.
Okay. I used to work for him.
Oh, cool. Yeah, James is a cool guy. James actually now is the owner of the old Ash, but he wasn't the owner before.
Gotcha.
We were in that building, and it made a lot of sense to be there because we wanted to have the biggest selection of cigars in town, and the way to do that was to be right next to the biggest humidor in town. And so we were, and that's how we had stuff that no one else had. But there was another buyer. I don't know what happened. Blah, bitty, blah happened, I guess, and James is now the owner, which is cool because he's a great cigar guy. But they did change the name to Royale, and I don't know why.
Okay.
It's like a Bond movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't resonate, but keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my personal opinion is that the only thing worth anything before was the name. We had multiple cigar bars around the country actually asking for permission to use that name, either through like a franchise system or just through a pay system. And, we never did that, which is why it was interesting down the street when that shop went up and it was called Bourbon and Ash. I thought, interesting name. Interesting name. But funny enough, it's a cool place. I've actually been in there a couple times. I wanted a cigar bar with my my buddies that we had just as a hangout, a place to go sit and chill. Well, dude, what turns out that you got to have people and they tax the tax in that business. It just became annoying.
It's heavy tax.
Yeah, it was just annoying. And even losing money is not the problem. It's just all the stress and bull crap that comes along with it. So we couldn't get out of that fast enough. I'm actually going to have a private cigar room on top of my building. So my building's about 3 stories high, but it's completely all open.
Is this the one that Josh helped you build? Did he
Yes.
help build yours, right?
Yep, over there on Sheridan.
Yeah,
Yep.
we were talking about that. I need to come take photos, by the way.
Get in there. Come check it out. I just built a podcast room in there too. And then on the top, it's 3 stories in the air, but it's all open inside. And there's a big architectural kickout on top of it. Well, we never really thought much of it, but you go in and it's huge. But it's just for visual when you see the building so it doesn't look flat.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to add stairs. You'll be able to come up to a catwalk on top, and that whole thing is going to be built out as a cigar room upstairs with windows, and you can see all of downtown from up there. It's an amazing, amazing view.
That's cool.
So
I'm
it'll be
excited
fun.
to see that. I've seen a couple pictures of your office.
Yeah.
And this was back when, even a few months ago, where I was like, I'm looking for some cool styles, some cool designs and stuff. And so I've only seen pictures, but I definitely want to come by if you'll
Come
let
by,
me and
yeah.
check it out.
It's a unique place. I mean, the purpose behind it being that way is most insurance people are in strip centers or old dentist office or
Offices like this one.
well, I mean, which, you probably don't have a lot of customer facing. You're getting the job done in here and you guys are here working, but in the other customer facing business, I think it's important for people to feel it and experience it. I think if someone comes into a strip center situation that there's nothing to remember about that. It's business as usual. Crap, I got to sign this form and pay this money. I want you to come in and be so distracted with what's going on that you don't have to worry about any of that. And the company we represent is known very well for having a very good, fair, and deal you can depend on anyway. So we have some help. We're not representing a trashy company. Some of our counterparts don't have that benefit. And so I love it that I can stand behind the company we represent, and when people come in, they can just have an experience, So, are you trying to move?
Just moved.
You just moved in here.
I moved our office in 4 hours a week before Christmas.
My goodness. Well, you have a lot of space.
I put in. Well, it was also the same price as our last one. So, and I don't have to clean.
Well,
They
and you're
come
in a
and they
great part of
clean
town too.
3 to 4 times a week, and Yeah, I mean, I'm in a better street.
Easy to find. You're easy to find.
Consistent maintenance and stuff like that is also important. So
right inside the building. You can't get a better experience. If you're going to be in a
and
building.
the glass doors.
Yeah.
I was like, and we were looking. I mean, I gave basically less than a 60-day notice, and I'm like, I'm not paying rent next month. Bunch of issues, whatever. Moving on. Landlord, I love the landlord. He's a really cool guy. Go have a beer with him, and he had some other things happen that he can't control, and more power to him. But I would. Yeah, so we decided to move. It was like $15 a square foot here, and I was comparing like a bunch of other places, and that includes triple net.
That's not bad.
So we have 3,000 square feet here.
Yeah, that's a super good deal.
Yeah.
Super good deal. My friend Corey, I don't know if you ever met Corey Minter. He was talking about their space the other day. Spaces in buildings like this, it's hard. You could get a super good deal like you got, and you could go right down the street and something similar and it'd be a horrible deal. So you got a great deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
right
you can't
the
beat that, dude. $15 a foot. I'd think about just putting an office up in here just for no reason, just because it's so cheap. That's unbelievable. So
they have space available. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll figure out something. I don't know what it'll be.
I told my buddy he had a chiropractic spot, and he's got one in California too. So he's coming back and forth, and he's from here and stuff. Because I told him, I was like, throw up a chiropractic office in here, and
why not?
Come see me a couple times a month.
Yeah, why not, man? That would be awesome. Yeah. So, I was sitting here looking at the Soldier's Wish thing. When's that next event? Is there another tasting coming up? Or?
Yeah. So a little backstory on that. So we started. John Buchanan and I started those last year.
Okay.
We had 5 of those events. He's got a business called And Whiskey where he does private whiskey tastings on the side. He's also an insurance agent, and he's working on getting out of that, and he does a thing called Turf to Mac. So he's got a little bit of entrepreneur spirit, has a little bit of insurance background, loves whiskey, loves business. He knows Deborah and the Soldier's Wish team, really wants to support them, as do I. So you can kind of see where there's a little bit of mutual connection there. We're like, we both want opportunities to like support something, be able to build relationships and connect with people, and if it turns out to be helping out with our businesses, great. And so we started that. Our first one was in May of last year. We decided the week of, we're like, hey, whiskey tasting on Friday. It's Monday, and it's
may as well.
Yeah, we had three people showed up, and
you think people just didn't know about it?
Timing, the time of day that we did it, and not enough ramp up time for it. So yeah, and then we had another one the following month. We had a venue in Broken Arrow that opened up, and they're like, hey, you can come use our spot, and we're closed on these days. We're like, okay, cool, that's great. Well, it turned out that by the time August happened, this would be our third one, we had 70-some people show up to it, and that's a lot to try to logistically get in 1 hour 4 whiskeys to 70 people every 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's
and
hard
be able to
do.
structure that. But then also by the time they hit the third whiskey in, they've already had a few drinks before the whiskey tasting started. And so now I'm dealing with crowd control, and now the people that really came to learn and taste the whiskeys, which John does a really fine job at giving you the experience.
Right.
He's like, when you taste this whiskey, imagine that I'm on a beach and the waves are here and the breeze. I'm like, I guess. He's like, I feel like I'm in Ireland. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm here with you. So that was cool. And we've had some distilleries where they just like showed up and they donate some stuff, and that was great. But last year, 5 events, $18,000 is what we raised. And this year we started to get a little bit more intentional with it. February, we did it at Bourbon and Ash. We raised $2,600 and granted a wish.
Wow.
And so now every time that we do an event, we assign that event with a wish. And so Soldier's Wish will attend. They'll say, hey, thanks for coming. We've actually got a wish that we're trying to grant tonight. We need X dollars. So far, we've already raised X. We'll have some raffle tickets. So we'll have a whiskey paired with the Soldier's Wish glasses and some Soldier's Wish gear, hat, hoodie, t-shirt, whatever. Yeah. And so we'll do we did live auction stuff last year, and that was frustrating. That was really high pressure, hard to do.
It's hard to do.
And so it was an idea that we had. So we tried those. We tried those different days of the week. We tried Wednesdays. Wednesdays was competitive because of church. So we found that Thursday evenings was the best because by the time you hit Thursday, people don't mind dipping out at 4:00.
Yeah.
For something. You're not competing with church on Wednesdays. Who goes to whiskey tasting on Mondays? There's games on Saturdays, churches and games on Sundays. People are tired by Friday.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. So we figured
a good
out,
day.
we did a lot of
Ladies'
trial
night.
and error stuff last year, but this one's our steak edition. And so if you know Ben Bowie.
The name, yeah. I think we met one time.
He's going to cook steaks and basically dinner for up to 30 guests. And tickets are $150 a pop. And so if we can do that, that's $4,500. Sell a few raffle tickets. The goal's $5,000. We've got a couple veterans. I think we're trying to aim to do both if we can do that. But if not, definitely one. And then any of the leftovers will be going to any of the leftover funds will go to the next one. So there's currently over $2 million in wishes waiting to be granted.
Right.
And
goodness.
some of them have been sitting for over a year. And a lot of it's like, well, if it's $5,000, why can't you just do it to that one? Well, logistically, it's like this person also wants to be a part of it, and they need to donate their services and the timing. Sometimes there's a lot more to it, but Sean does a fantastic job at all that. So he'll present a wish that night. So it's fun. So we're going to do it at a private location out in Jenks.
That's going to be awesome.
Someone's man cave. So
dude, I love anything that can be done. I mean, I never served. Of course, had family and friends that have. I didn't ever think a lot about the vet situation until 12, 13 years ago. Not because I didn't care.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. And people don't know what they don't know.
Well, you know what's really crazy is that right now, if you go to Soldiers Wishes, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, you'll find that there's a couple videos that we've produced and published on there. And they were telling stories about how these 80, 90, whatever-year-old veterans, they haven't had heating, cooling, air conditioning, plumbing for months.
Man, it's unbelievable.
And they served, like they were deployed. You know, they spent years making sure that we were still here and alive. And I don't know. So, and that's necessity. That's bare bones. Like
I agree. Yeah, it's unbelievable to hear those stories.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of them like that. So.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, really, to think about why can't there be more done? You know, why can't it's a big undertaking. I have 2 adopted children, and in my mind I think, well, if everyone would just adopt one kid, we wouldn't have any kids out there. But I also understand it's not just that simple.
Well, it's also more expensive and harder to adopt than it is to have one of your own.
Yeah, it's just not that
simple. From what
simple.
I've heard, I haven't adopted, but.
Well, I mean, there are other problems like that in our world, though, to where if it was as simple as a math equation,
1 + 1 is 2. Like, great.
It's just not that simple.
No.
You know, and my deal now is I've gotten to this place to where, and I've had other spiritual friends tell me in the past, you know, these are things you just have to start praying for, and I'm like, okay, some things you just have to like pray about, and it maybe you get some peace out of it, but. I guess what else can you do? You know, pray for other people and
ride the wave.
There's just not a lot you can do. I wish that there was the ability to make an impactful change immediately for every single issue we have, and apparently there is not. So,
yeah, the whole economic stuff that's going on right now is kind of wild, you know. And I don't think a lot of people really know what's going on. I think it's hard to also understand what's all going on.
It's tricky.
Because you also don't know, you're not in the weeds of it, you know.
You watch TV?
No.
You ever seen Blacklist?
No.
Blacklist is an awesome show starring James Spader, who's amazing. But Blacklist is this portrayal of a super, like, covert dude who has done many illegal things. But because of the amount of connections he has to very bad people, he's able to make a deal to work with the U.S. government and have full immunity. So the blacklist is a list of people that the government is willing to trade to get, but let him be free. So instead of getting one guy, they're going to get hundreds. Our world that we live in is a lot like Blacklist. There are a lot of things we don't understand. And everyone's got an opinion, and everyone's the social media bull crap. I try to help my mom's generation understand that the amount of details you've been given to form your opinion are very few. In fact, they're so smart that they know how many and what details to give you to actually derive the opinion you give them. So your opinion is not original. And so I know all these chaotic, on fire people. We did all the research and all the things. I assure you that very few of you actually have the research you think you have to come to the opinion you have.
You know what I hate? Polls.
Polls are funny.
When the TV goes on and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, 57% of people disapprove with Trump's whatever, and they're always neck and neck.
It's
You know,
weird.
and I'm like, I didn't pitch in on this. Like, where's my voice in any of these polls? Like, I've got an opinion.
I blame marketing
know?
companies for this one. I just thought of this, Braedon. I blame marketing companies for this right here. Did you get your text last week about the toll bill that you have?
No,
Did you see any of that crap?
no.
So a lot of people got spam text messages about a toll bill. You ever get those text messages about
I get spam ones. It's like,
you
hey,
didn't
you
pick me
owe
up,
money. And
this kind of thing?
Yeah.
I get one the other day that's like, what are you doing? You were supposed to pick me up at the company. That's the text, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to pick you up at the company. I figured out the other day why they do that. And it's y'all's fault. Marketing company's fault. They're
Why?
just trying to see if it's a live number.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Well, I don't
And
know if
then
it's
they
a
sell the
marketing
number
company, but
immediately.
it's some, you know, company.
In general, I'm
it's
kidding, but
it's some people in India that are going through phone numbers.
and then they just
To be
sell
honest,
the.
and then
They're able to sell it.
and then they sell the phone numbers to marketing companies who will say, "I need a real list
Active
of
number.
active phone numbers."
Yeah.
And so then I'm sold a list, and you're like, "Hey, I need a list of active numbers." I'm like,
Here you go.
"There you go.
I've got you one.
know, I found you
I
one."
just
Or
never
maybe
knew.
you buy direct.
Yeah, I always thought
Yeah.
that particular little scam had way more meat to it. I just knew for sure that this lady telling me that I forgot to pick her up at the company had ulterior motive more than just seeing if my number was real. I could have sworn it was a spy thing. It was a way to hack my bank account or my Facebook. It's
Sure.
none of that crap. She just sold my phone number for 89 cents or whatever it was on her master list to the people that are likely probably an American like government or political thing to where then they can just remarket to us. So marketing, like I said, it's a marketing thing.
And even if you just answer the phone on those
that's
calls,
it.
bam.
Hello.
As soon as you answer it, hello,
That's it.
bam.
Unbelievable.
Now it's active. Yep. And then
Drives-
because they'll hang up on you right afterwards.
Yeah, drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy. So there you go. I couldn't believe it. I started asking around the other day when that happened, and they were like, "You're an idiot." They're just trying to see if the phone's real because I'm messing with them. You know, I'll take it and have fun with it and screenshot it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna stay on this dumb list now because I let them know that I'm a real person versus ignoring it."
Yeah.
So,
And I
here we are.
really don't want to switch numbers because I've had mine for 17 years.
No,
I'm like,
no,
yeah.
you can't do that. You just got to put up with that junk. So
Well, there's a part of the podcast that I like to do.
Sure.
Have you heard of the Diary of a CEO?
I think I've only heard of it because you did it on here, right?
Maybe.
I've seen it on a.
So you've seen these
past-
cards?
Yeah. Well, I've never seen the cards. I just saw a minute section of you doing it before, so I think I've heard of it.
So the whole point of these is to empower more true human connection.
Okay.
And so these cards, these things I've never read before, but they're what his guest wrote on his podcast. And
Okay.
so he made a card deck out of it for other people to have those kind of same conversations.
Cool. And I mean, I thought I saw it here. Did I see this somewhere else?
I don't know. I
Are
do.
these something you can buy?
Yeah. I mean, it took me a month to get these in when I ordered them, but
I thought I saw it on one of your episodes,
You
but
sure did.
I've seen it somewhere.
yeah, what do you got?
Oh, I got to read it?
Yep.
Here we go. What is the most frequent piece of advice that people ask for, and what is the answer? That's actually pretty easy. So people ask me the most, and they're asking a different question when they ask this, but I know what they mean. People are trying to ask me how we get it all done, or how we get so much production and performance done at such a high level with the same amount of time they have. It's always that. What they're asking me is, what's the easy way to make more money? What's the easy way to sell more things? There's no magic, right?
I can hop on that bandwagon of
Well-
the same questions that are asked. Yeah. Sure.
That's what they're really asking you, right? How do you get it all done? You've heard that question. How do you get it all done? Or how does your team, I have the same amount of team. Why can't we do that? Or why are we not doing that? And I had to think about that for a couple of years because I always gave them answers like, well, we work really hard, or my team makes more calls, or all these cliche. But you know what it is, dude, and I wrote this quote in a book a couple of years ago called Breaking Conformity. It's a kind of a business style book, but I hate self-help books. So I write more like stories. So you read Breaking Conformity, it's full of aggressive, like alpha male one-liners, but it's telling a story so that you can at least jump into like a movie for a minute and then jump out. And this is the quote that kind of came out of me when I said that. People are always going to try to tell you what you are and are not capable of based upon your own talent, ability, and vision. Meaning, when I come and meet you, I'm going to either build you up or bring you back based upon what my ability is, my capacity. And so this question is cool because when people ask that, I go right to capacity. The likely reason, at least one of the big ones, is why we might have different results if this person's asking me is going to be their capacity. So I have a great amount of capacity. That could be one of the hangers. So here's how we got to work. We got to work on your capacity. And if we can't increase your capacity, we got to make you more efficient, more direct, time management. I'm not a great time manager, actually.
You should see my calendar.
I'm just really fast. I work really fast. But I always think, man, what if I was a good time manager? But I teach time management because I've got team members that will definitely waste a lot of time. But we're so busy, Bryan. We're so busy. No, you were busy at peaks. And that peak made you feel like it lasted all day. You were busy for 30 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours because of that peak.
Or maybe you were busy today or busy this week. Maybe you had a really productive day or week. But in the grand scheme of things, are you really overworked?
You had a lot of time.
You had a lot. You had just a lot of things to actually be productive about and to do. Great. You had a job to do. You had tasks, know. But that doesn't mean in the grand scheme of things that you need a raise or you need a bonus or that you're overworked. Like, you got to give that months. Give that some time to play out, Well,
and there's things to work on. I mean, this boils down to me. There's always little spider webs that go on this conversation, but I always start with capacity now. If I can measure your capacity, that's going to be one of our we're either going to be able to talk about time management because you have great capacity. If you have limited capacity, now we got to talk about how we can make you more efficient. Because if your capacity is actually limited before you freak out or you're stressed out or your prime part of the day or whatever all this junk is, I've got to now know how do I coach to that. And that one gets me really close to result because I just kind of know what's holding you back. So
it's almost kind of like breathing. Yeah. I mean, like you take a deep breath, right, and then you're like, okay, you exhale and you figure out how to be more aware, be more efficient. You breathe out, and you're like, okay. And
they say,
and then you breathe back in, and now you're all tight, and then you're like, oh, okay. And I think throughout the year, it just kind of does this.
Well, to your point, Dr. Braedon, you're right. Without spending any money going anywhere, I read a lot about just simple breathing technique in an anxiety moment is a huge effect. I mean, deep breaths in. They say 3 deep breaths in, holding it for like 8 to 9 seconds at a time.
I think it's the Marines. I've heard what they do with the box method.
Could be. Yeah.
So they breathe in the box. So it's 1, 2 in, 1, 2 out, 1, 2 in, 1, 2 out. And they basically, in their mind, they draw a box as they breathe. And as they do that, it creates a stable rhythm, which kind of like helps regulate your whatever psychosis.
Oh, that's cool. I've never even heard of that, man.
But it makes sense. And actually, I've tried it whenever there's times where I really, really worked hard on trying to rewire my brain and try to become more emotionally stable over the last 15 years, which is half my life. But
you can rewire neuro pathways.
Yeah, but I've really done really well right about 25, 27 up until now. Like I've really done good at I don't have any knee-jerk reactions. I think a lot of that came from just hormonal stuff. It's typical teenager stuff,
Right.
But I was really aware and self-conscious on a lot of those things, whereas just sometimes I'd make a decision out of an emotional state. And I've quickly learned that is not the best decisions to make, and things like that. So
therapists call that your monkey brain.
Yeah. Or anytime where I'm in a manic state, I'm like, I draw that box and I breathe and I work myself out of those anxiety states. And I create something that is consistent, something that I can go back to, that I know that's there, that's stable, whatever those motions and those activities are. And I've learned that I love some level of routine, but I leave room for whatever happens. So like in my schedule and time management, there's certain things where I have a routine, and I love having my routine of I have my mornings, I get my kids off to school, I go to the gym, I hit the office at 9. Some days I have meetings start around 9:30 or 10, but I like kind of getting my coffees, saying hi to everybody, kind of getting my day started around 9:30, 10. I grind,
Yeah.
grind throughout the afternoon, and then if I can, whatever happens in the afternoon happens, or in the evening. But some days I'll pick up the kids from school, take them home. I'll work from home till, I don't know, lately so far this year it's been 7, 8, 9, 12 o'clock at night. That's only going to last for so long. But
well, what's cool about talking about therapeutic practices like you're talking about, the breathing techniques and kind of settle your mind. Therapy is a huge deal. So many men don't like to talk about it, man. I don't mind talking about it.
I love my therapist.
Yeah. Dude, one of my
Love
best
her.
friends in the world, Sean Copeland, told me years ago, therapy every couple of months, whether you need it or not. And I do it. I mean, there's usually something to chit-chat about, but generally, I just like to be able to talk and get perspective.
That's not my wife.
Yeah.
That's not my mom. That's not a friend or a brother, someone that really, sees me and knows me, hears from me on a daily basis that I talk to consistently. That's my therapist is outside of the state. And I love that. She doesn't know anybody I know.
Yeah. Well, and generally they're gonna call you up, right? Having a therapist that's willing to stand toe to toe with you when it's time is important. You don't need them to be a yes person. You need them to be like an honest person.
Hey, you're out of line here.
Yeah. And I love it because I need that. And Sean was an amazing piece of advice he gave me because I practice it all the time and it helps me kind of keep things straight or get them back straight, if they're messed up. And I go all the time, at least once to twice a quarter. And it's a great experience for me. Men don't get to talk about that a lot because we're so wired up to be tougher. That trauma doesn't matter.
Suck it up. Nobody cares.
It's not true. None of that's true.
It's a toxic masculinity.
Yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie. And I'm glad that you talk about it too. It's a lie, and men are not hearing enough. We a good friend of mine, Kellen, has a ministry, but it's a big organization called Band of Brothers that happens in some churches, but mostly in Broken Arrow. And it's all about teaching men all of those lies aren't real.
We're not allowed to feel.
Right.
And if you feel, you're weak.
Yeah.
And I between therapy and having such a quality relationship with my wife, where she has allowed a safe space for me to be able to feel, and then a therapist for me to process some of the traumas that I've had in losing people in my life for years, and losing in different levels. I've had several people with suicide, several people where they just no longer had friendships, whatever it is. And so I've had my own traumas, my own stuff to work with. And so between those two, I've learned that it's okay to feel, and I've learned that it's okay to share my emotions. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be happy. It's okay. That's a big one. It's okay to be happy, because there's a lot of people who aren't. And when you're happy, that's when they come out and they don't want you to be happy.
Right.
And then, some of that stuff is weird. And it's also okay with yourself to recognize that, life is an ebb and flow. It's a harmony. Yeah. And if life is ever a balance, something is wrong.
Right.
If a music note, I made this comment on a podcast. I said, if music was same in the same tone, it'd be boring.
Yeah, be weird.
So it's okay to have highs and lows and acknowledge when you're happy, acknowledge when you're sad, and know that you're going to come back up, and then know that you're going to go back down. Right. And it's going to be okay. But eventually, ideally, you want to be moving upwards in life, some way, shape, or form.
Progress.
Financially, emotional health, whatever it is, right? But
try to evolve a little bit all the time. I agree with that. I'm glad you talk about it because so many men are just not going to talk about it. And I don't understand that. I guess, man, I didn't when I was younger. Dude, you're way ahead of the game, though, at your age.
It's this. Let me tuck my shirts here under my biceps real quick.
Yeah, be so tough. Well, dude, you're ahead of the game. At 32, I wasn't emotionally at an IQ that I would be now, which is still a far cry from where it needs to be. But experience will teach you if you're willing to kind of let it. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I don't know how people get on this spiritually, but I don't. I go a different direction these days. About 3 years ago, the Lord changed me in such a way to where I'm still very imperfect, a work in progress, but now I don't fake it anymore. I used to fake it. I used to think that this is what people want to see. They want to see me being a good dude, talking about good junk and helping other people. I really want to do that stuff. But instead of making it real, I turned it into like a promotional idea. It was an image-driven thing. Well, I'm still as imperfect now as I ever was, but my heart has changed in a way to where the Lord positioned my heart authentically and transparently to where I can come to you as a mistake-making person, but you can actually respect the conversation now because you know I'm being real. I'm not trying to up you or out image you.
Yeah.
I just truly care. Like, hey, Braedon, how are you good, dude? Are things good? And you don't have to be like, oh, that hypocrite. No, man, I'd struggle too, man. What can we do to figure it out?
And that's another thing that I've been struggling with for years, and I know I'm not the only one, but in the context of people can't put me into a box because there's a lot of different things that I like to do. There's things I focus on. I love business. I love marketing, my family. I like whiskey, cigars. Recently got into golf. Of course, I love coffee.
Yeah.
But like right there, there's 7 things that people then look at 7 different things and they go, well, I can't fit him into a box because you look at someone on TikTok or whatever and they're a golfer. You look at someone on Instagram and they're a business person or whatever it is, So when you're 7 plus a family person, or whatever, and I like motorcycles, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that I've done. I've had 17 jobs before I started the business and stuff. And so I've gone back and forth between like, I'm going to make my content the way that I enjoy it because it's hobbyish. And if 100 people watch it, great. If 100,000 people, great. And I'm not measured and judged based on how many downloads and followers that I have. If I have a message to share with a guest and that impacts one person, high five. That made an impact that did its job.
Yeah, you're speaking my language though. I mean, I don't even know if you're speaking it. Just one is enough. Just one can change the trajectory of everything you have going on. See, 3 or 4 years ago when God changed the position of my heart, I never would have thought of that because I wanted the crowd. I cared more about what the crowd thought and
what the crowd wanted you to make and what the crowd wanted you to do. And then you get so involved and so absorbed into that, you almost lose the excitement for the impact that you want to make.
And you don't even know. I didn't get up every day trying to be a dick. I didn't get up every day trying to push you away. You just end up doing it because you care about the wrong things. And so ultimately for me, I made a promise a couple of years ago. I just said, Lord, you know what? I don't even care what people think anymore. My job for the one, if it's for the one, it's for the one, is if I think that someone's struggling or I feel a prompting inside to share something spiritual from me that might help someone else, be it, hey, this is what I believe, and this may help you. It may give you freedom. Dude, when I started doing that, you'd be surprised. And it doesn't matter what people believe. I'm not going to try to make them believe what I believe. But ultimately, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to bring a source of hope to them. And because of that hope, where that comes from is, hey, I believe Jesus died on the cross for my sins or whatever. I also believe that, hey, you don't have to be sick. I believe that we can pray for that healing. I believe that we can believe together for that. I don't believe that life has to be so chaotic and you have to be alone through it. That's not the plan and that's not the design. But I spent so many years afraid to just do that. Now it's like, hey, we were praying for a guy at the Summit Club the other day. We're smoking cigars, and of course everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, you guys are smoking cigars. And I'm like, dude, God does not care.
You're talking that context. Oh my God.
It's so crazy.
I'm so sick of that.
But we have a guy, I'll tell you, Braedon, and a short story. We're there. It's around Christmas. They're doing a Christmas party. Kellen and I go out to grab something out in the lobby way. We come back into the cigar room and someone's sitting in our little area. No big deal. We sit down and a large group is having a Christmas party behind us. And I look at this guy and I'm like, hey man, I'm Bryan. Who are you? And he said, sorry if I'm in your spot. I said, no, I don't have a spot. And he said, my wife, they're having their Christmas party here. And she didn't really want me to come, but if I don't come, it may get out of hand. That's what he said. So I came. Sure. But I'm going to mind my business over here, smoke a cigar, watch TV if you guys don't mind. I said, dude, get in this conversation. We're going to talk about just whatever. And I'm telling you, throughout this conversation, I start to look at this guy and I'm like, I feel a prompting inside that there's something wrong with this guy's physical body. It's just something about it. And I told you a couple years ago, I'm not going to ignore this stuff anymore. People can think I'm crazy or think I'm weird. But I'll tell you why this guy doesn't think we're crazy. Is within a minute, I said, something's wrong with your physical body. Are you willing to tell me what it is? And he said, did you not see me walk in here? And I said, no, we were out in the lobby getting getting a drink or whatever we were doing, getting our food. And he said, I hobbled in here on canes. He goes, they're over there. And he said, I had 2 strokes in the last couple of months and I can barely walk. And I said, well, do you care if we pray for you? And he said, in front of all the people? And I said, I'm a rookie, man. I don't really care who's around, but if you've had strokes and you can't walk very well, and I believe that you could walk, let's do it. He agrees. This guy gets up and walks out of there, man. So I'm no longer going to be afraid of what the people think. There's one guy right there. You said it earlier, for the one guy. I'm knocking the microphone over. For the one guy. And if that guy goes home and is able to change any aspect of his family life or people around him, it was worth it. And anyone can do that. Anyone can do that.
One of the books I'm going to write. I don't know when, but it's going to be titled "Don't Steal It." Starts with one.
Oh, you got it. Cheers already.
Starts with one.
Starts with one. Yeah, I like that. You can go so many different directions with it. That's a great title.
Cover
dude.
a lot of bases.
Great title.
And it starts with you, and it starts with making having one person in your life.
Yeah.
And that person could be your wife, and you could go down that rabbit hole. You could talk about that one person, and that's a therapist. You could talk about that one person being a priest or a pastor, and that's another path. Talk about one person being Jesus and God. That's another path, right? So there's a lot of different conversations that could go.
Well, picture just the dominoes.
Yeah.
It's a very old and easy one, but without one domino falling over, the rest of them don't.
Started with one domino.
It's the key. It's absolutely what's going to make or break whatever that particular situation it is. And like you said, it's everywhere going on all the time. One person does one thing, says one thing, helps one person, things change. The problem is only a percentage of people on our planet are willing to do what you and I are talking about. And so our results are different. We don't have the big results that we could have if everybody was engaged in that one little promise, one thing. So good stuff. Can't wait to see how you develop that idea out, man. It's going to be good.
Yeah. I haven't even gotten it on paper yet. I've been thinking about it for the last year or two.
Well, it's going to be easy to write. It's going to be easy to write because you can go 1,000 different directions with it, and they're going to be impactful.
And I'm going to be telling stories.
There you go.
A lot of the books I like to read, they're not quite self-help books, but they're books that I can take action on. So, like The Art of Negotiation was one.
Good
the
one.
guy was an ex-FBI agent, and he says basically how to negotiate and stuff like that. Like, that was good. Of course, The Profit First and The Pumpkin Plans and The Clockworks. Some of those books and stuff where they tell stories, but then they also kind of give you some guidance and some actions.
Steps.
I don't like to live in fairy tale lands in any of those books, and I like to read things that actually be like, do that.
You can picture
yourself.
yourself.
I can apply
in
this, and some of that you got to take with a grain of salt, but
get in the mix. You can get in the mix with it. So I agree.
Okay. Is there any reason why someone would want to get in touch with you?
Any reason why they would want to get in touch with me?
Yeah.
Man, we're going to blow their mind if they get in touch with us. We love the opportunity to meet with people. For me, I've changed from being so business-minded. I spent so much of my life, dude, started working young. It was all about business, building empires, and you lose that way. You just lose. You lose relationship. You lose authenticity. You lose certain things. And I had to make an adjustment. And so now I love to connect with anyone, and we'll put them in contact with whatever they need, whatever they're looking for. But what they're going to get from me all the time is I'm going to try to find out what's up. Who are you really? What's going on? And if they are just trying to get a quote or they're trying to find some kind of a business opportunity, we'll lead them there. But I'm a lot more interested now in a connection. And if someone gets to me, I'm going to at least spend enough time to figure out what that is. No accidents.
You don't believe everything happens for a reason?
I think so. I'm not conclusive on that, and I'm not going to run for president on that platform. But I would tell you, I'm starting to see that there is a lot of evidence towards that nothing is really all that much of an accident. There's got to be some kind of plan, at least it seems to me, enough to keep looking at it.
Sometimes it's just a seed planted.
Right.
And it could take weeks, days, months, years for it to come to fruition.
And you may not even take advantage of it. A lot of people say, you have a car accident, that's an accident. Well, there's an opportunity there. There's always an opportunity.
Put the phone down next time and quit texting and driving.
Are you taking the opportunity?
Yeah.
Or are you taking it?
Yeah.
So I think that it's easy just to make the lazy assumption that, oh man, some stuff happens on accident. No, what did you miss? What opportunities did you miss inside of that very much on purpose thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'd love for people to contact me, though. I love to meet people and get connected. It's one of my favorite things to do. If you know me for any minutes at all, I'm a connector. I love the idea that I can take someone I know and someone they don't and connect them, and something good will happen.
Get them married.
It's fun. That, usually it's not that, but yeah, it could be that.
That's pretty cool.
So,
Do you have any questions for me?
I don't, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to come chat with you. This is one of my favorite things I do, is to sit around and kick the can with someone, because of what we're just talking about. There's always someone that can be impacted by a certain conversation. And so I enjoy doing it. I appreciate the opportunity.
I didn't believe that this was an accident either. I've been applied you on a lot of things that you've been doing over the last couple of years. We've been friends on Facebook.
I saw that.
While.
Yeah.
And with a handful of mutual connections and stuff, every now and then I see your stuff. I remember the call Bryan Smith. I've seen the State Farm stuff. I probably have seen that out on the field, depending on how long you've been doing that. So
long time. Well, that one's an easy one. 15 years ago when I started, BryanSmith.com was taken by some freaking nerd in Europe, and he wants like tons of money for it. Doesn't even do any business with it. So I was like, how hard it is with the name spelled with a Y. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I just made an action. So call Bryan Smith was derived from me not being able to get BryanSmith.com. And it's become its own thing. Dude, we got people calling into our office. We just moved here. What neighborhood is good? What realtor? What church? What restaurant? What movie theater? It's unbelievable. Where do you get your tires?
Another great reason for starting that podcast, huh?
Very promotional. Marketing, man.
Yeah.
Just marketing. So
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming by, chatting
Absolutely.
with me for a little bit, and
honored.
Learn a little bit about you and stuff. I think we've had some real good conversations. The whole point of, like I said, Brews and Business podcast is having those table talk, coffee shop kind of conversations. Like I've said, how many conversations have you had where you're like, if one person had heard this, like it would. I know several people right now that I've had conversations like this with, like this would carry them on to the next step, stuff like that. So, I appreciate you coming by. And
cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you guys, I've got this new Ethiopian coffee coming out here in about 2-3 weeks. So if you go to brewsandbiz.com, you can check that out. Gregor Coffee Roasters, support him, support local. He doesn't charge me anything to private label this stuff. And I support him. He supports me. And then Whiskey and Wishes is April 10th. Tickets are $150. You can go to Soldier's Wish. You can go to my Facebook. You can go to Sooners Facebook. There's a bunch of different places. You can probably Google it and find a ticket link. But if you can't, comment, send me a link, send me an email, however, and I will get you a link to do that. So appreciate you guys, and looking forward to whoever we're going to have on the show next.
Awesome.